So that's all well and good, but from our perspective, that's really the homework. That's not the extra credit. That's the things that any new application coming out of, any new Macintosh application coming out of Apple today really needs to do. We really wanted to take it a step further than that, though, or many steps further than that, and really look at the problems that you're trying to solve and address them in new and unique ways that nobody's ever tried before. And so, with that, I'm going to introduce you to the new Final Cut Pro. The new Final Cut Pro has a completely redesigned interface, focusing first on the 3 primary tasks that every editor needs to do, with quick access to all of the other things that the pro editors need to do, including things like keyframing, color correction, taking advantage of secondary displays, all of that. But we wanted to focus on, first and foremost, presenting the primary task that everybody needs to do. First, image quality. We wanted to make sure that you're able to deliver the most beautiful, the most pristine, the most interesting content possible to your clients and ultimately to the end viewer. To do that, though, you have to start with a huge amount of media. And to manage that media, we needed to approach the problem in new and different ways so that you can dynamically handle massive quantities of media. But once you've got all that media, you get to the heart of the editing system, which is the editing system within the new Final Cut Pro 10. So I'm going to walk through each of these in a little bit more detail, starting with image quality. This goes back to the modern foundations I was talking to you about before. We wanted to make sure that we're building an application that delivers the highest quality images possible. And in today's market, what that means is building a fully color managed Final Cut based on color sync, so that you can trust that the pixels coming off of a profile device track all the way through your workflow to display on the screen and ultimately out to output. But further, we've got a fully floating point linear light-based rendering system. That too. So what that practically means, though, is not only can you trust that the pixels transfer all the way through the playback and rendering system, but when you're doing effects work and anything like that, we're able to deliver the highest quality possible on the platform. We're also introducing a resolution-independent playback system that allows you to mix formats ranging from traditional SD formats all the way up to today's mobile and HD formats, and ranging all the way up to 2 and 4K formats. So you can create content from a variety of different sources, lay it back to a variety of different sources, without having to worry about the origin of the media that you're working with. So, but both of those things are incredibly processor intensive. They take a lot of resources. To be able to deliver that, we're leveraging some of the best of Mac OS X. We're leveraging Grand Central Dispatch. This allows us to take advantage of all of the cores on your machine, the GPUs that you've got installed in your machine, to scale from your MacBooks all the way up to the highest end machines and render your work as quickly as is possible. What this means in practical terms is this dialogue that you love is gone. Rendering built into the application, so with every spare CPU cycle that we can glean, we're constantly rendering so that at the end of the day, you're using the processor resources for the things that you need them to do rather than wasting time.
Excuse me, you're like right in my shot.
So that's the image quality piece of the picture. Now let's get into the organization part of the puzzle. And that brings me to the first feature that I want to talk to you about, which is content auto-analysis. Everybody in this room is dealing with an ever-increasing quantity and quality of media. And you need to be able to get that into the editorial system as quickly as possible and begin editing immediately. And so with the new Final Cut Pro 10, you're able to plug modern cameras such as an ABC HD camera into the editorial system and begin the ingest process. And before the ingest is even done, you can start editing. We copy the media off of the camera in the background and start preparing it for the editorial process. And when we're done, we silently sub it out for you in the background so that you're not interrupted waiting for ingest on the way in. But that kind of wasn't enough. That's pretty straightforward, but we also wanted to take advantage of the machines again to prep your media for the organization and editorial process. And that's where content auto analysis comes in. We, on the way in addition to prepping it for editing, we also do things like some of the straightforward things. Media detection is an audio still, that kind of thing. That's pretty straightforward. But we also kick off background jobs for things like image stabilization. So on the way in, we analyze your media. We give you the option to analyze your media for stabilization so that when you plop it into the timeline, you're already ready to stabilize it. You're already ready to deal with rolling shutter. You're able to deal with all of those things without having to wait for that analysis to happen. It's already happened for you. But we also wanted to do some things to help you in the organization process. During the organization process, you spend a whole bunch of time doing things to figure out what kinds of media you want to use in the process. Some of those things you're uniquely qualified to do, and some of the things the machine can help you out with. And so with Final Cut Pro 10, we're also adding people detection, so that on the way in, we can identify shots with single people, two people, groups of shots, so that when you go to look for interview shots, you just click on the single people group, and you can immediately get to your media. We do similar kind of things with shot detection. Go back. With shot detection. Stealing my own thunder. With shot detection, so that we can detect medium shots, close-up shots, wide shots. These are the kind of things that don't really add value to your workflow, but you need them for the organization process. We do that automatically for you before you get them in, so when you're doing your organization process, it's based on things that are specific to the particular piece that you're working on today. But we also wanted to prepare it for the editorial and the effects work, and that's where the one that I just got to comes in. Automatic color balance on the way in. Non-destructive color balance. So that when you bring your media in, we analyze the image and gather the color data so that when you step into color correction, you've already got a pre-balanced image. All of you that have been doing color correction for a long time know that this is the first step, but it's not a good use of your time. And so we wanted to make sure that that was done for you, and you can immediately get into the more interesting parts of color correction. Similarly with audio, on the way in, we detect things like silent channels, channel configuration, stereo, mono, 5.1 surround, all of those kind of things, and prepare it for the editorial process. But we also look for issues with your audio, so excessive noise, hum, those kind of things. And give you the tools to be able to find those things, and optionally automatically fix those kind of things up should you choose to, so that when you, again, go to edit, your audio is ready to edit without the common issues that you run into, and you can start to create.
I can record like this.
Yes.
So that's content.
So it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Whatever.
It's not me.
Who is it?